Oh, it's so
That's gonna make certain things a lot harder. That's gonna make certain things a lot
Yeah, I don't understand why I say under permission.
Oh, don't worry about it. Well, you have to. If you just record that and then sort it out from there, man. And then we'll just don't stress. Is it live streaming?
It's apparently it's part of it. It's not.
Try again.
Oh, it's done now. Obviously, you looked in now as well.
So what's it called?
Yeah, that should be it.
Oh,
yeah, there we go. All right,
okay.
there you go.
Sweet. Nice. Okay, right. I'll put it on the group.
Where's up to that?
It's up to you, man. As long as it's like.
Who is it meant to see you?
Yeah, just see me. That's fine.
Freezing.
Firstly, boys, we're live streaming this shit. Yeah. So take to see you guys.
do you
know how I did it, really?
You're on YouTube. Wait, what are you live streaming on? I watch it.
Well, you can just watch it. Yeah. I was just going to visit you next week.
Oh, I thought it was like a jokey end of season.
No. It's not even the end of season. Why would I do that?
When they said you're giving a presentation, I thought it was just going to be some jokey thing, not an actual one. Yeah, wow.
Sorry, back on.
Joe, when you say getting your head right, should this be pursued?
No. Let's be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the cheerleaders right now, am I?
Oh yeah, how did that go?
Mate, I don't care.
Did you talk to her the next day?
She messaged me like this fucking page message. I just said,
Yeah, like Lone Freedom Sunday night.
I just think she said, look, I'm sorry, whatever. I think I genuinely couldn't care. You know the cheerleaders stuff that I showed you? We had a massive chat about it.
It's all very much like who gives.
Yeah, it was literally one of those. Like, it was literally just a massive joke.
Actually, it's my mum.
Huh? Yeah.
Who's watching this on the live stream?
Anyone who wants to is posted on the group. So.
That's when I post up.
I can probably say I can't believe it, but I know what it's like.
Boys, Don't be stupid. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Did you even write? You should just like go on.
Okay, all right.
Oh, I didn't write anything.
I'll be
Okay, guys, just guys, everyone, quiet it down, boys. All right. First things first, Josh has asked me to mention training tomorrow. Usual time on the Astros. We got one more game, and then the Pro Bowl, and that's going to be a bit of fun, bit of a take the piss, okay? But you know, Solent, big game. A lot of us last game ever in sort of varsity status, really. So you know, let's put in a big week of training. Really turn up, and yeah, we'll go through this. It shouldn't be too long, and then a couple of sort of, you know, admin stuff at the end, and then we're pretty much good to go. Okay. Charlie asked me to do something like on goal setting, just general attitudes towards training. So this is just, you know, about looking at next year, looking for next season. You can take this and apply it to assignments as well as gym goals, as well as positioning the teams, as well as skills. So what I want you to do from this is, I'm not going to bombard you with literature and theories and stuff like that. It's all just going to be very simple ideas that you can apply to anything you do in life, okay? Some of it's going to be a bit of feedback from you, a little couple of tasks, but nothing strenuous. It's just going to be, it can be mental, you can write it down on paper. But yeah, I want at the end of this, if you want to learn more about this subject, go away, find the literature. If you want some help looking for it, I'm more than happy to give you a hand. But this isn't telling you this is what the science says. This is a couple of approaches, a couple of things that I've done with athletes and for myself that's helped me sort of just progress and made sure I'm still focused, okay? So this is, you know, get your head right, an approach to goal setting, mental toughness and focus. Mental toughness is an interesting one. We'll come on to that a bit later. So what we're going to do is we're just going, look at goals, SMART, you've probably all heard of them before, so breaking them down. Mental toughness, what mentally tough people don't do. So everybody focuses on what, you know, how to become more mentally tough. There's habits you can start getting into and ways you can think about things that, you know, if you're mentally tough or if you're focused, I think is a better word than mentally tough for this. You don't do these things and you can start seeing, you know, where you might need some improvement or mentality changes there. And overall, it's down to you. Taking responsibility is up to yourselves, okay? So what we're going to start off with is making progress. What it really boils down to is goals, targets, you know, having things to focus on. So, you know, for example, if you're a fresher in a team and you want to make captain by final year, that's your goal. That's something to focus on. You know, it could be anything. If you've got an assignment, 2,000 words, that's your target, that's your goal, that's what you've got to focus on, okay? So you're not going to get anywhere unless you know where you've got to be. So, you know, point to focus. The SMART principle. So SMART objective, SMART goals used in sport all over the place. Used, you know, it's really simple. SMART specific. So makes sense. It's got to be to you. It can't be, you know, I can't have the same goal as Harvey or Tom because we're completely different people with different strengths, weaknesses, abilities, and motivations as well. Then we've got measurable. So we can't just sort of say, I want to be stronger. You know, I want to be, you know, it needs to be something that you can measure. So, you know, I want to write 2,000 words by the end of next week, or, you know, attainable. So it has to be realistic. So, you know, if it's going to be something like, I'm the starting centre and I want to be a shutdown corner by the beginning of next season. Realistically, is it going to happen? I'm not saying no, I'm not saying never. I'm not saying never sure. By the Pro, you know, I'm not saying never, but you know, it's one of those things where, you know, it's got to be attainable. It's got to be realistic. Okay, which brings us on to, you know, realistic. So, you know, there's no harm in setting goals that, you know, are. So if you, for example, if you wanted a goal in your next gym session, I want to lift 1.25 kilos heavier than I did last week. You know, that it's 1.25 kilos, but you're that much better. Okay, it's that 1% better that we spoke about at the beginning of the season. And time, you got to put a time scale on it. Otherwise, you can kind of say, you know, I want to lift 150 kilos eventually. You know, eventually, if you train, you will. But if you don't put a time on it, it's going to be really hard to see to that deadline, or you know, you won't focus, you won't put pressure on yourselves, and you just won't progress. Okay, does that all make sense? Yeah, cool. Guys, if you've got any questions, I'll take them at the end. But through this, just, you know, I will talk a bit. So just I want you to think, just have a goal in mind, have a picture in mind, just think of something that you want to achieve by maybe next week, next year, whatever. Just have it in mind and just think, where are you now? And then where are you going to be? Where do you want to be? That's how you start looking at your goals. That's how you start setting yourself up to progress. Okay, very simple, but that's what it boils down to. So then what we do from here is we start to break it down. So for example, I'm going to do a dissertation, for example. So it all applies to us. I'm doing one at the moment. You guys will have to do one eventually if you haven't already, or most of you will anyway. So dissertation, 10,000 words. I'm just going to take it the subject of fatigue. 10,000 word dissertation. Okay, I've got to do one in 4 months' time. So 10,000 words in 4 months' time. Okay, so roughly 6 sections. You know, give or take, depending on the style of dissertation you're doing. So let's focus on the literature review. So areas of literature review that I'm going to look at. So I've got to define what fatigue is, the causes, population differences, relation to sport, etc., etc. So now I've got smaller sections of my bigger project. Okay, so now I'm focusing down. It's like a funnel system, and then breaking it down further. So population differences is what I'm going to focus on. Okay, now what are the population differences I'm going to look at? So that's gender, age, training age, playing level. It can go on. So now let's focus on gender. So that's 300 to 400 words. So by the time I can probably attack that within maybe 2 days if I'm really focused. That 300, 400 words, probably a bit more, a bit less, give or take, depending on your type of reading, how you approach things. So from there, you've got 300 to 400 words. Then just for that population differences, you've got 1,200 words to 1,600 words, and that's just ticking it off the box. So you can do that each week. So I can say, right, by next week I want to have done 2 like age or playing level. So that's just chipping away at it. Okay, so if you focus down, instead of it becoming a hideously big 10,000 word project, you now only have to focus on those little goals, and it's a stepping stone effect, like building blocks. So I've focused on gender now. I've got 300 to 400 words out the way that I know I've done my research on, and I can move on, and I'll slot it in later. Okay, so now let's sort of apply it elsewhere, applying it to the sport. Okay, so what you want to do is just pick a goal. You can either do this in head, tell it to someone, or write it down if you've got a piece of paper. So just pick a goal that you've got, or you want to have by next year. Let's have just a goal from this time next year. Where do you want to be in 12 months' time? Okay, so pick a goal, whether it can be weights to lift, position on the field, depth chart. Okay, then we go to, so let's think, now start thinking about how you can break it down as much as you can. Does anybody mind sharing what their goal is for next year? Anyone? Honestly, it's up to you. Anyone? Who's this? Guys, come on. Honestly, it's down to you. Like full-time employment. Okay. So so now break it down. So what do you need to get to that full-time employment?
Grades.
Grades. Okay. So grades is one thing. What else? Contacts. Initial job. Promotion, CVs as well. Okay, so we got some. No, it's true. So this is fine. These are all stepping stones to the goal. Okay, so now you've got to think. So if we focus on creating contacts, so what's your steps to now start creating contacts? LinkedIn, very good. So update LinkedIn profiles. Maybe go to conferences, go to places that you might think you meet the people you need to meet. So now Sean has got in his head, right now I need to update my LinkedIn profile. I can spend a Sunday afternoon doing that, or whatever. Or I need to make some more contacts. Or there's a business conference or whatever, a marketing conference that I might go to, see who can meet there. It's all things like this, guys. If you just think, oh, I want to get a job, it's more about setting those little goals, little targets that just keep you in focus, keep it easier to attain, and you can see yourself making progress. Okay. And now, from that, now you just apply the SMART principles to all those little sections. Okay. So, for example, if Sean goes, right, and to improve contacts, I want to get my LinkedIn account up to date. So by this time next week, I want to have my LinkedIn account up to date, as smart as it can be for this point in time. So that the measurable aspect of that is that maybe you want to add another 100 words to your profile, or some experience, or get the endorsed, things like that, guys. Okay, so everything can be applied to this. It's just you've got to take the time to do it. So just a few tips for any goal you set. A few of these I picked up myself, and some of these are recommended. write it down and remind yourself of it every day. So if it's that important to you, you know, write it down on a piece of paper. As soon as you write something down, it makes it real. And if you remind yourself every day, now you've got it in your mind at the forefront. If you know, put it on the fridge in the morning on a post-it note and just said, all right, that's my goal. That's my goal in 12 months' time, or that's my goal for the next 6 months. And you remind yourself that's what you're focusing on. Okay. Always keep track. This is something that people just don't bother doing. It's hugely important, and it's such a big motivational sort of boost. If you're ever feeling like it's hard times, you're not feeling like you're going anywhere, keeping track is one of the best ways to give yourself that little push. Just an example from myself, I try to video myself like once every 2 months with my lifts. I've had one of my second year at April doing a clean and jerk, and then I filmed myself again in April of last year on my placement, and the difference in 12 months was just huge. But you don't see it because, you know, you're sort of with yourself every day. But anything like, you know, if you look at, for example, on LinkedIn is a good one. If you look at how many connections you've got now, 6 months time, how many connections you've got in the field, it's things like that. Just keep yourself motivated and keep a tracking log. In the gym, it's really important that you keep track of your weights out on the field. Think about how many yards you made or how many passes you completed. It's little things that can start keeping you focused and keeping you motivated. And finally, if you've got a big goal, tell everyone. Post it on Facebook, annoy people with it, okay? So as soon as you start telling people, like your peer group or your friends or your family, then it's almost like you've got pressure to not let them down. So, you know, if someone comes out to me and say, if I come up to someone and say, I'm going to lift 200 kilos by the end of the year, and then I post it on the group, and then I tell everyone, all of my friends and my family, if I don't get to that 200 kilos, then it's almost like I've let people down. And then people are going to be like, well, didn't you say you're going to do that? So it's really like, you know, use your friends, use the support network around you to keep you motivated. It's a really easy thing to do, and it's something that, you know, you can start doing very, very easily. Okay, so mental toughness. Now, this is there's a lot of literature on toughness and creating grit in people. It's quite a new thing, but this thing I found online is quite a nice way. I don't know if it's mentally tough or just sort of mentally stable. Not stable, but, you know, just sort of someone who's very sure of what they're doing. And it's 13 points that I just think, you know, it'd be nice for you to see and just see how you pair up with them. Okay, so first one, things that mentally tough people don't do. They don't waste some time feeling sorry for themselves. Okay, this is a, you know, we've had a few tough losses. We've had some mistakes this season individually, you know, as a team, whether it be on socials, whatever. But unfortunately, mistakes happen, and we can't do anything about that. But what we can do is we can learn from it. Like if you just sit on them and feel sorry for yourself, you kind of look a bit pitiful and you waste time. Also, like that time you're feeling sorry for yourself, you could sort of, right, okay, what can I do to change that? What have I learned from that? Okay, so, you know, mentally strong people don't sit around and bother about things that, you know, how others have treated them. Yeah, so, you know, if for example, if you got dropped from the team or someone was put in front of you in the depth chart, you know, you don't be like, oh well, there's no point trying. You know, you put right. What can I do to get on the pitch now? What can I do to get ahead of him? Simple things like that. They don't give away their power. So this one is more about, you know, you want people to fight for what you have. So if you're first on the depth chart, second on the depth chart, you don't want to give that up easily. Or, you know, if someone comes at you, you don't let them get the better of you. You make them work. So you're always expecting the best of everyone by expecting the best of yourself. Okay. So yeah, if there's a little snippet on that one. They don't shy away from change. So, you know, things change this year. A lot of things have changed. I know people who were here last year, you know, didn't really know myself and Josh, and we've kind of come in and, you know, sort of maybe changed up things quite a bit. And it has changed this year. We've first year in Bucks. And I'd say like a lot of us have accepted a change because it's a change we all wanted, but next year's going to be very different. So, you know, there's a lot of us that aren't going to be here. So you rookies, you've got to realise that now it's your time to sort of accept that we're not going to be here. You're not going to have necessarily the sport network and the maturity of some of the people that are here. And that's something that you've got to embrace. Okay, so that's with where you now start to step up and you start to see that change hands. Okay, these next 3 months, 4 months that we've got left at uni is your time to start taking control of your team. That's got to be here next year. Yeah, so if change happens, but embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. They don't waste their energy on things they can't control. So if you're sitting there moaning about a 10,000 word essay that you've got to do, then you're kind of just wasting your time because you've got to do it. At the end of the day, you've got to do it whether you moan about it or not. If it's like, for example, on Sunday, there's no point moaning about the wind because it was windy. You can't change the weather as much as you can change how tall you're genetically meant to be. So there's no point worrying about those things or wasting time worrying about little minute things that you can't control. So focus on the things you can. Always focus on the things that you're in control of. So if, for example, you can control how hard you train, how early you turn up to training, how prepared you are for a game, how well you eat, how much work you do in a week for university work. That's all down to things you can control. But don't worry about pleasing everyone. I must admit, like, my first 2 years at university, it was very much like, oh, I've got to make sure people like me. That's the thing. That's an insecurity people have. But as soon as you realise that not everyone's going to like you for being you and for doing the things that you think are right, that's just life, unfortunately. I mean, I know I probably annoyed more than my fair share of people this year through, just basic things, like maybe some decisions that have been made on the team or regards to social life. But unfortunately, that's the way the world works. So as soon as you get over that, the more freed up, the more focused, and the less worried you're going to be about very petty things. And for taking calculated risks. So what do people think of what is a calculated risk? You got risks and you got calculated risks. Does everybody get what I'm saying when I say calculated risk, though? Okay. So taking a risk is things like going for trying to sneak offside, or just on the offside line on kickoff, or things like that. Calculated risks are things that you think, right, this could go one way or the other, and if it does go the way that I don't want it to, then that's fine. I've made that, but you've got to have that belief that risks are good. Taking risks and making decisions that may not go your way is something that how we learn, and that's something that I think some of us could start doing a bit more of. Play a bit closer to the edge. They don't dwell on the past. I mean, yes, it's good to learn from from mistakes we made and games we played. But once we've learned those mistakes, we just carry on, focus on what's coming ahead. It goes back to the things that don't worry, don't stress about things you can't control. So you can't control what happened yesterday, or you can't control what happened 2 weeks ago. But you can control what's going to come up, and you can look how to change what you've done. Okay, so if you focus on the future and focus on the right now as well. So what are you going to do when you leave this? What are you going to do are you going to go to bed? Are you going to go out? Whatever. That's up to you. But don't dwell on what could have been, what should have been. They don't make mistakes over and over. This is one where I think if you make the same mistakes over and over again, then you either haven't bothered to learn, or you're just sort of given up, really. Making the same mistake over and over again is a sign of something needs to change. So you've got to recognise that and change it. If someone makes a mistake on the pitch, they keep making that mistake, and there's obviously something wrong that they need to sort of switch on. Okay. They don't resent other people's success. This is kind of a weird one, I guess, for some people who are very competitive. It's if someone's done well, that's fantastic. That's off their own hard work. If you start resenting people that have done better than you and come up with excuses why they've done better than you, you're never going to try and get past them. You're never going to get to that point. You've got to realise that the reason they've been successful is because they've had that right mentality, had the goals, had the success, because they've worked hard. Some people are lucky, yes, but 90% of people who are successful are hard workers. They don't give up after the first failure. This is huge. I mean, if if you give up after first failure, then there's no point of even trying sport. I don't think anyone here would be playing sport if they would give up after their first failure. If you failure is one of those things that is, in my book, a very positive thing. Failure means that we've got somewhere to improve. I'll touch on that a bit later. I don't fear alone time. This is a bit of a psychological one, a bit fluffy one. But if you can handle being alone, you can handle your own thoughts. So getting inside your own head and trying to work out where you need to improve, where you need to set goals, really valid thing. But some people are quite insecure and they need to be around people the whole time. But some of these guys, if you think you've got, if you don't do this or you do this, that's great. Maybe it starts something you can start looking at and thinking, right, I can't start implementing some of these things. I need to start thinking this way. They don't feel the world isn't anything simple enough. If you think the world entitles you, you're entitled to something in the world, then you're obviously insecure about something, and you're not going to get anywhere because you won't try. You think somebody owes you something, so that's a motivational thing as well. They don't expect immediate results. Unfortunately, nothing happens overnight, especially in the world of football, in the world of training, in the world of education. Everything takes work and everything takes commitment. Okay, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but you guys, you turn up. If you turn up consistently, you'll become better football players. If you go to the gym consistently, you'll become better athletes. If you turn up to lectures consistently, you'll become better students. It's you can't expect to learn everything like that. You can't expect to lift everything like that. So it's all about being realistic. Back to the goal setting earlier. Having that time frame where you're going and how long it's going to take you. But back to an earlier point, learning to welcome failure. We do not know our incompetence until it's pointed out. So, I know I'm not an expert in in most fields. I think in every field I wouldn't say I'm an expert in, to be fair. But it's understanding that, and I know that. But it's things that I don't realise I do until somebody points it out. And I'm not afraid to know that I don't know put my hands up and say I don't know everything. If I don't know everything, I'm happy to sort of say, right, I'll go away and learn it. Same on the field, I know my weaknesses, I know my strengths, but until somebody points out what I've done wrong, I don't know that, do I? But there's points in your life where you think, yeah, I'm pretty solid, but it happens to me a lot. People go, oh, what about this? You're doing that wrong. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. Now you pointed it out, I understand. I can see where I'm going wrong. But it's that. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is such a key. Without failure would be no success. That sort of sums it up. If you got people who are successful, people who are world champions, people who are, Super Bowl winners, multimillionaires, they've failed beforehand. There's never been anyone in life who hasn't failed. But it's how you react to that failure. So if you start looking at failure as a positive thing, rather than, oh, I failed, I can't do that again because I'm afraid to fail, then you're never going to achieve anything. Okay, so failure is a really, really positive thing. I'm not saying as in failure is something you should achieve in life, but it's the reason people are described as failures or it's because they don't react to the failure, they just accept it. Okay, so in practice, if you fail to catch a pass or you miss a tackle or I don't know, you throw an interception or you miss a block, that's fine, as long as you learn from it and as long as you understand what's gone wrong. It's one of those things where sport and lifting and is the only place in really modern society where failure is okay and it teaches you how to fail. And I think as soon as you start welcoming that mentality in sport, in the terms of essays, learning, business, then you're going to start improving. Focus. Okay. So the KISS principle is keep it simple, stupid. Okay. That's all it is. Focus is all about making sure you know exactly where you're going and you've got that in your mind the whole time. Whether that can be, your long-term goal, Sean wants to be full-time employed next year, or whether it can be, right, I want to lift 250 kilos or etc. But first things first, if you feel like you can't remain focused, if there's something that your head's all over the place, have a tidy up, trim the fat. First of all, remove all trivial distractions. Like if you can't put your phone down for 5 minutes, You know, if your room's a complete tip, you know, anything that's bothering you in the back of your mind is going to be a distraction. Get rid of it now. So just spend 2 hours tidying your room. You know, turn your phone off for an hour and a half while you're trying to make sure you know where you're going. And then just write everything down. So everything you've got going around your mind, everything that's going on in your life, write it all down. Just have it all on a piece of paper so you can sort of see what the big picture is, what everything you need to focus on, or everything that's sort of got some form of attention on. Okay, this is a really good exercise, guys. So if you want the slides, feel free to give me a shout. But this helps me a number of times when I feel like I can't actually sit down and see where I need to go. Okay. And overall have your long-term goal in mind. You know, with that list, discard any aspect that you can't control, some things you can't change. You know, back to those things that were mentioned earlier. Have that mentality and just cross them off. If there's something that's not point worrying about, why are you worrying about them? You know, it's simple things. You know, or why can't Jeff talk to Sophie without tripping up or something? Like, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, be selfish in this. And clear, and just trim the fat out of your life. Okay. A clear mind is a focused mind. I know it's a bit cheesy, but it is. So just make sure that you've always got. If you're struggling to focus and you're struggling to get yourself motivated, and you can't remember why you've got up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get down the gym, you need to keep that goal in mind. And you need to keep focused and just clear your mind. Okay. And overall, guys, it's about taking responsibility. So I can do a number of these. You know, I could bore you every week for an hour and a half about most principles of lifting, training, being an athlete. I've worked with a lot of athletes, and some of them have a very good way of dealing with things, and some of them don't. But down to the very bottom of it is about how they take their responsibility, how they take their training, how much they put on themselves. And I'm a great believer in educating people about how to do it. I don't like to spoon feed people. And if you want to learn, if you want to become better, that's down to you guys. So it is down to you. If you're serious about development, then learn about it, read about it, start getting that knowledge for yourself. Research, ask experts, and don't be afraid to question what you read. A little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing. So when I say research, don't go on bodybuilder.com if you want to learn about the gym. Look at books, look at basic lift science books, like strength training books or physiological books. It's things like that. It's get the basics, and then if you're more interested and you want to go further, then look at journal articles, etc. But want to be better. If you're an athlete, if you want to go somewhere, then and you want to start doing stuff yourself like nutrition. Why not spend? It's your own body. You only get one chance at this. Why not spend 2, 3 hours, 4 hours reading everything you can, understanding everything you can? If you're going to put it in, it's worth it. If in the end, isn't it? It's your own body, it's your own performance. Okay, and start to be responsible for your own progress. So don't start blaming things like, oh, I missed the gym today because I didn't have enough time to do work. Make time for work. Make time for the gym. I'm not going to do the hours in the week thing, but there's enough time in the day to have a 9-to-5 job, go to the gym and do all the work you need to. It's doable. I 9-to-5 in the library Monday to Friday, plus the training with you guys, and I managed to go to the gym 5 days a week, and I'm still on top of my work, and I managed to do a presentation like this. Okay, so it's doable. You just need to make sure you plan your time. Okay. But yeah, any questions, guys? Anything at all? I honestly, anything about I've said, anything, other questions about training, I'm welcome to take them. Anything? No? Okay, guys, well, contact details are up. You know how to get hold of me anyway. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope some of it was useful. Yeah. Okay. Well, was that useful?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, guys. Yeah, I don't know what to do. It's still recording. So yeah, just in regards to sort of admin stuff. So training Friday, usual time. Training tomorrow, usual time. Unfortunately, I'm not there Friday. I'm actually in Cardiff, so I am away Friday, but I'll be there Sunday. Okay, so guys, if you've got any injuries, rest up. Make sure they're looked at. Yeah, and just what else? S&C wise as well. Who here was part of the S&C groups? Right. Okay. What's going to happen, guys? Is basically attendance has been shit over the last few weeks.